You want an investment edge, but all you hear is noise, hype, and half-truths. Every signal is solid information, but only if you can see the bigger picture. This is where the Quasar magic happens. Weather, charts, news, all financial signals, funneled into a single dashboard. Data alone isn't enough. Quasar Markets turns it into energy, sharp, clear, precise. Optimize with Quasar Markets today. Your edge when investing.
Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. Hope everyone's having a good start to your Wednesday. BigBeat should be in a minute or two. He's just finishing up a call, but I'm here to start off our hump day, talk about the shutdown, what happens if it moves into October 15th, a little bit about Oracle's margin bombshell that came out yesterday, caused a little bit of a panic across some of the market. We'll talk about gold versus AI. Which bet are you making these days? Talk about Fed minutes, a weaker yen on Japan's leadership shift, and Europe's new steel plan squeezing autos. Let's first take a look at the morning movers on the day here. Confluent, one of the big winners so far, up about 14.66% here this morning on potential acquisition interest. So Confluent CFLT, big move to the upside. Looks like it wants to close the gap. It still has a big upside here in front of it if it can hold some momentum this morning. Other pre-market movers, DGNX, we've talked about it a few times. This one has really shot up since the stock split that it had back on September 9th, up another 25% today after being up 25% yesterday. Continues to move to the upside on the completion of their acquisition. They are in the world of ESG reporting, believe it or not, is what they do. We do see Rocket Labs also up about 5.6% here this morning. AST Supermobile, another one that absolutely taken off here. It's not even on my list because it started taking off after that. On news of them selling more to Verizon on the direct-to-sell movement, you can see that they are now set to open up at 85.18 on ASTS. So I guess, satellites and those things are not done yet. On the flip side to that, we do have some laggards today. Joby, for those of you that like aviation and personal aviation, bad news there on Joby, has them down approximately 15% over the last 2 days after a $500 million plus offering that they came out with. They did say the funds from their offering will be used for certification, manufacturing, commercial operations, and general working capital. My take on this, and it's funny because we went over this in my crypto room yesterday. We were talking about price earnings ratios and some equity valuations and margin and how to look at a balance sheet on the crypto stocks and what you sort of should look for. And one of the things I mentioned there that I do like buying the dips a lot of times when companies do get lose steam because of an offering. When a stock tends to take off is when you see an offering come out, or at least to me, that is still a bullish sign. It means that maybe the company feels the stock maybe is a little overvalued at its current valuation, or that they just can't pass up the valuation to take a little bit or, raise some money, especially for companies that are still not profitable yet. So I don't get mad at a company like Joby for doing this. What I look at it is maybe it's an opportunity here, if we like the level, to maybe dip your toes back into Joby if you're not there. So one that I will be watching here today, see where it lays out. But I do think that is the case personally. For me, so we'll keep an eye on that. FedEx got hit pretty hard here today, or at least it was this morning also. Find where the heck they are on my sheet. Never mind. We'll just type it in. And FedEx was down on a downgrade, down about almost 4% over the last, between yesterday's close and today's pre-market move. On a JP Morgan downgrade. Again, Oracle actually has bounced back. I will say again that buy the dip mentality still seems to be so prevalent in the market. Oracle had dropped it down as far as 270 one last night, and now back up at 285. So it's recovered more than half of the loss there. Looked like it might come all the way down to the 50-day MA. Didn't get close. Bounced up, and that's a heck of a wick to see in front of you also. So again, Oracle doesn't seem to mind, and we'll get more into some of that data here over the next few minutes. But the bottom line is that the renting out of their chip space or compute power to OpenAI and these other AI data centers is not as profitable as the rest of their business. So it's definitely wearing on them for sure. We're in week 2 of the government shutdown here. Markets sort of shrugging it off. Data is dark. Roughly 900,000 folks have been furloughed. 700K are working without pay. The thing that I have pointed out and will point out is when the what starts to hit the fan is really October 15th. That is a key paycheck date. Missed paychecks ripple into local spending and rent and other parts of it, and that includes military. So I will point out, last time we had a long government shutdown, they had already passed the military appropriations bill, which meant the military got paid the last time we had a longer than 2-week shutdown. This time they will not. And quite honestly, we've seen the White House threaten to not pay back pay to people that have been furloughed, and also threats of mass firings. I will say the more I'm hearing out of DC is that the mass firings are not, at least so far, happening, and that they might be more rhetoric than actual action. So that would be good to hear. And part of that is that they already went through this with Doge, and the White House doesn't want to, they're rehiring those folks, some of the folks that will let go in that, and they don't want to run through that again. So that they are sort of staying out of it. So again, let's get into what we're seeing here across the market so far. Qs are up about 11 basis points here, about 15 minutes from the open. Has been sliding under VWAP on the shorter term chart, so seen a little bit of negativity so far in the pre-market. Haven't been able to sort of see a true breakout yet. A little bit of a better view from the S&P right now, which has recently broken through VWAP and has been able to get above it a couple of times here. So question is, can it use it as a real support level here at that 670, 670.05, let's call it, as its key support, and start to move back to the upside. Gold will not stop here at 40.48. Again, we've been all over this story for a couple of months here. And Goldman Sachs coming out yesterday with their estimates that we'll see 5,000 by year end. We do want to mention Peter Thomas broke into the Quasar chat this morning, said to keep an eye on silver as it attempts to make a break above 50, and that if it does, that would be a break of the triple top that you see if you look. Whoops. I can't use this for it because it hasn't been around long enough to do it. Over the years, silver's, where can I find that? That's the one I'm on. They don't go back far enough. what it is this is the third attempt, triple top, to break through 50. He pointed out that, if it breaks through, I want to use his exact words here. Sorry. Said, hi, you know how I feel about triple tops, silver triple top at 50. Stopped there 2 times before. If it goes through this time, the third time, its upside is unlimited. As the government is closed, they can't close the market this time. That is a little jab because Mr. Thomas famously is part of the Hunt brothers team that tried to corner the market on silver. The government sort of stopped them in the process of it, and it did not work famously. And what he's pointing out is this time, at least in the U.S., the government's shut down. They wouldn't be open to stopping it, which is true. We'll point out, loving our move on silver, on copper still at about 31.53 here after having an up day yesterday, looking to open up about another 73 basis points to the upside. Again, there we're looking for a move back towards 36. And as we look at the sectors of the S&P outside of real estate, and we're going to talk a little bit about how that shutdown could or will affect commercial real estate. And we know BigBeat was negative yesterday on commercial real estate also. We will, that is the only sector right now set to open on the downside, down about 40 basis points. Right now, the material sector, which BigBeat just got into yesterday, seems to be leading the way. So he's in the right sector there, with XLB up about 0.5 percentage point so far here today. We'll find out whether or not he's still in that trade when he comes on here. DXY is moving back to the upside. A big reason for that, or 2 reasons. The first one being the yen. The yen is absolutely exploded to the upside. It was as high as 153 yen to the US dollar. This is 8-month lows on the yen after they have elected the new prime minister there. I will not try to say the name. She won the LDP leadership. She is seen as a fiscally expansionary PM and is less itchy for rate hikes than we had seen out of the Bank of Japan. So what has this done? It had moved the Nikkei up earlier. Now it's pulling back, though, as you can see. And what it also has is, again, the yen at at lows we haven't seen in 8 months here. So that is helping the DXY today, as it is one of the components of it. So that one is definitely helping that work its way up. We do see rates down slightly today. 30-year down about 0.5 point. Same thing with the 10-year. Short-term rates down about 20 basis points. We see still oil has sort of balanced out and started to work its way back up towards 65 on Brent, 61 on WTI. They are turning over to the downside here today, but it's been on a 3 to 4 day upswing before that. And again, gold above 4,000 here today. Crypto side, Bitcoin has bounced back. Bitcoin back at about 122,700 here. Had made it as high as 123,250 before pulling back slightly, but looking a little bit more positive again here, trading sideways in a consolidation since about 4:30 this morning. Ethereum, same thing, bounced back a little bit, not as much as Bitcoin did. We did see pretty big flush out through the crypto yesterday. A lot of longs liquidated in both Bitcoin and Ethereum. So we are seeing a reset of those markets today. Other things we do want to talk about today, we do have on tap, keep in mind, the Fed's beige report will come out. So the FOMC minutes at 2 o'clock today will come out. We also do have the Fed Commissioners Barr, Musalem, Kashkari, and Goolsbee all set to speak today. And with the data vacuum from the shutdown, every Fed word matters, I think. The market's still pricing additional cuts this year. And as I mentioned, 10-year is slightly down so far today. We are about 10 minutes from the open. I do see the tick has started to tick to the upside here. Been fairly neutral throughout the day. No problem, Kim. Yes, that is. I will, as I know you will, I will be looking to play that. I did let Charlie and the boys know about it, so you might hear some stuff over there at Prosper from them also. But looking to play silver for sure myself here today, especially on a break of that 50. Definitely going to be looking to play it. And you can play that with SLV for those that do not know. If you're looking for probably the easiest and most direct route to play silver, it would be SLV. And you can see here, it does trade a little different than where the futures are at. So keep that in mind, but that's the one I'm going to keep an eye on here. Yeah, and I know you are a gold and silver bug, and both I'm sure you are just thrilled with both. Absolutely. And I don't think it stops anytime soon. I'm actually mad. BigBeat must still be in his meeting because him and I were going to argue which is the better buy right now, gold or AI. You know, gold just broke 4,000. It's historic drivers, shutdown, geopoliticals, rate cut hope, central bank buying. You know, technically it's overbought, but, you know, don't chase it without a plan. You know, is that a better buy right now, or is AI a better buy right now with that little pullback we've seen across Oracle and some of the others where it's the market's growth engine? But today's question is all about profitability right after that Oracle report. So, you know, the framing is, you know, is it AI for growth, gold for doubt? Are you diversifying into both? That's how I'm looking at it personally. And, you know, or are you picking a winner or a loser there? I'm not picking a winner or a loser. I'm buying the dips on both markets. Personally, when they make dips, gold has not dipped yet. Like I said, silver has done a little bit of a pullback here today. So I actually am very interested here at this SLV here this morning, without a doubt. Now it's at 44.45, excuse me, not pulled back yesterday. So, but again, definitely interested on seeing if we do get a true breakout there. Looking at the Mag 7, NVIDIA, you know, NVIDIA did not get hit nearly as hard as the others yesterday when it came to that Oracle news. They were down about 27 basis points. They've already made that up 81 basis points here today, back at 186.53. And again, above VWAP nicely here on the short-term chart, upward facing. I'm liking what I see here. You do have some key resistance at 188 to watch and at 190. But NVIDIA looking pretty strong so far. Apple did a little bit of, it's still sideways trading here with Apple. Apple consolidating. I think it's sort of stuck between two things, the narrative of its iPhone takeoff versus the tariff backdrop. So we're sort of stuck in a wait and see mode there. It's been consolidating at this level here now since it's run up on the release of the iPhones on September 22nd here. You know, and you can see starting to use that lower EMA as a little bit of support here. So you got to like that. Microsoft, a little bit of a different story there. I don't know why it's off the chart. You know, I pointed out when it was sitting around its 50-day MA, it's made a nice little move to the upside here, rejected at the midpoint of the linear regression. So this is a sort of area to watch. That's going to be the key resistance above it right now is in that 428.55 area. A breakout of that usually would be an explosive move back up towards that 554 area. Google got hit a little bit yesterday, was down about 1.74% and down another 26 basis points today here. So Google, again, that one is more looking, it's hugging support from that linear regression. Any break to the downside there probably does give you more downside, maybe even downside back towards 226 where it gapped up to. So I'd be more careful on Google from the charts at least. And then Amazon, you know, we're going to start to get figures from Prime Day today and tomorrow. So we'll see what we get here from that. You know, but that's going to be the key thing to watch here. This is another one that I've liked. It held its 200-day MA. It made its way back into the bottom of the linear regression standard deviation. It's moving to the upside here now. So Amazon, coming into the holiday season, if you do think people are buying, I know my wife has already done her shopping on Amazon for the little one. If folks are doing that, this is one that will get set to pop on those numbers. But those numbers come pretty quick here. So Meta at 713, up about 15 basis points, erasing about half of yesterday's losses. This is another one that's been on a multi-week downtrend, trying to reverse it. I do like the candlestick yesterday. That is a nice little hammer reversal maybe there that we could look at, and nicely moving to the upside here this morning. So you could see Meta trying to run today on the short-term chart here. A break above 714.41 would look real positive there. Tesla was down yesterday. People did not seem to be too excited about their news. They had come into the markets and it had been talking about, there had been rumors that maybe they were going to release a new model, right? A mass market model, or that they had a roadster. It basically was that they're lowering some of their costs. That's basically in direct response to the lack of tax savings that they now have. Hey, Ron, how are you doing today, sir? So that's what to watch there. But Tesla does look like it wants to get a little bit of a run going here today. Took a big beat the other day to the downside. Steve was all over that, got out of it very early. Could have ridden that all the way down to that 433 level. So he did call in the top there the other day on it and nailed it, but got out a little early. And then Netflix, the last of the Mag 7, looking to come back up. That one's in a make-it-break-it spot, too. You got 50-day simple moving average lined up right at the same level as linear regression. To me, that's going to be some key resistance at this 1207.54 I'd be watching for. Otherwise, on all the other metrics, looks real nice coming into that area. You do see a little top-heavy on the hourly RSI here, but again, has dipped down from yesterday's highs there, so could give you some more breathing room before a pullback. So Mag 7 looking pretty strong so far going into the cash open. We are 3 minutes from open here. What else did I have for us today? We have seen BMW, some of the European car companies under a little bit of stress today after the EU proposed slashing tariff-free steel quotas to 18.3 million tons and doubling the overquoted tariffs to 50%. So sort of a fight back towards both China and the U.S. there. And what their car industry says, it goes too far, raising costs for automakers who still need specialty imported steel. BMW compounded things with a fresh profit warning on China softness and tariff impacts. So you could be definitely in line. We saw Ford got hit pretty hard yesterday here in the U.S. Part of that was a fire at one of their major supplier of aluminum that they use for their cars. It is up slightly here, about 40 basis points after losing 6% yesterday. This is another one. Ford's a company I tend to like to buy on dips, although I do feel it was very overvalued at almost $13. So I would need a little bit of a bigger dip here back towards about $11.50, and then I'm definitely an interested buyer there. Continuing to keep an eye on Costco here. I really want it down at 900. Does not look like it wants to give it to me here. So I'll make a decision here in the next week or so, but I am still looking at Costco. Still a fan there of them going into the holiday season. I do think Costco is set up to be one of the bigger winners of the holiday season. 1 minute from the open here, everybody. Tick is up about 130. Advanced decline up about 2,400. Although I will point out yesterday we were up similarly about 2,000 and finished the day down 30, as low as 3,900. So the early morning advanced decline is not much of a gauge. What we want to see is what does it do at 9:30. That's what really matters to me. VIX back above 17 again when it was down in the 15s. We talked about it here. You buy month out, 2 month out covered calls on it. I'm holding mine still here. I think we have more upside involved, especially as we approach, if we approach the 15th with no government shutdown, ending yet. If we don't reopen the government by then, that first paycheck is when everything sentiment starts to get really bad in DC. And talking to people yesterday, it already is. Okay, we are open here. Tick starts off to the upside. Advanced decline jumps up 34. So exact reversal of where we ended yesterday. We ended at basically down 34.81. We just opened up 34.50. So almost an exact reversal there. First move on the DXY continues to the upside here. Dow Jones opens up 27 basis points. Man, we were just talking about breaking 46,000 about a week ago. It seems we're now at 46,700. Looks like we want to challenge 47,000 here and by the end of the month. SPY up 14 basis points, but its first moves since the cash open have been to the downside, it looks like. Qs are moving to the upside, so let's take a quick look at the MAG. We do see NVIDIA popping here, 187.53. So NVIDIA popping to the upside here. So it looked good in the pre-market, definitely popping to the upside. There it goes again. NVIDIA definitely looks like it wants to run today. Apple up nicely. So we are seeing some first move by the algos on a bunch. Well, not for Google, but not for Amazon. Meta's involved, Tesla to the downside. So we do see some pretty big wicks here. Definitely seeing volatility hit in the first minute or so of the open. Again, tick staying positive so far. Qs are still moving to the upside. SPY is trying to balance out here. Gold did see a little bit of a sell-off here on that open. Silver, same thing. That's what I was hoping to see here, a little bit more of a sell-off. And then I would like to get long on silver based on Mr. Thomas's statement there. Bitcoin, a little bit to the downside here, continuing 122,650 or so right now. Ethereum 44.80. So both of those have moved slightly to the downside. Does look like WTI picked up from lows of the morning here on the cash open, moving to the upside. Let's see what's moving. ASTS we talked about. 17.26 to the upside. Sorry, just taking a look at what's going on here. Okay. ASTS continuing to break out here. Best Buy up about a percentage point today. Constellation Energy up 3.25%, continuing to move to the upside. Ron says Netflix running again here. Yep. Now it's moving to the downside a little, not to the downside, but selling off a little bit. Same thing with NVIDIA still popping off. 188.25. Wow. Hot up 4.67% here, man. That one will not stop. Oh, man, look at that. Nice move to the upside here. That just set an all-time high at 43.70. I did mention, I don't know if I mentioned, IREN did an $875 million convertible bond. That's what has them down here today. This might be, for anybody that's been trying to catch this one, today could be your shot at IREN. Just keep that in mind. It's down because of an offering. Again, we know these companies have to raise money to build out, for their capital expenditures. They are not Nvidia. They are not Apple. They're not sitting on billions and billions of dollars, but they just were able to raise very quickly in oversubscribed way, 875 million, which to me means there was an appetite, and that means I would be interested. ASML down about 1.79%. We are hearing rumors of more chips being declared, not able to be sent to China, and they are the ones that their chips are the ones that are under target right now. So they are down on that news. Intel getting hit kind of hard here today, down almost 3%. Wow. News there. Looks like HSBC downgraded Intel. That's about it. They lowered it to 20. Banks are the ones to keep an eye on here. We're going to be going into earnings next week. You got JP Morgan always leads it off. That is on the 14th. So Tuesday the 14th, we'll have JP Morgan first on deck when it comes to earnings. Questions going to be here is EPSs and estimates are very much to the upside, 4.82 on their EPS. They were at 5.24 last quarter and looking for 45 billion in revenue. So their sky high expectations, price to earning ratio of about 15.86, which is pretty big for the banks. We'll see if they justify that valuation. And again, JP Morgan leads it off. Tick has gone slightly negative here, and like we said, advanced decline. This is what you want to see. What does it actually do after the algos all fight it out? And we're now up about 1,700, but you can see that's after hitting a high of 34.63 or 35.13 and moving back down here. So we're continuing to see a slide. Dow Jones is now in the negative, down 12 basis points. SPY is pulled back to about up 8 basis points. Qs, on the other hand, still moving the upside. Tech is definitely leading the way. If we look at the S&P, the sectors there, XLK is up 61 basis points. The one leading the way, biggest laggards on the day, it's sort of a group of them. Energy is down about 85 basis points. And then you've got XLY and real estate down about a half a percentage point. Early morning gainers. Let's see if they're still moving. DGNX still holding at the high side, hasn't taken any falls down. On the other side, CFLT has pulled back from those highs of 23.91 back to 22.51. So definitely seeing profit taking there. Rocket Lab, after making a move up, a big wick up on the open, we do see they've pulled back about half of that right here. Orbs was up big in the pre-market, now getting hit real hard. That is the digital asset treasury company related to WorldCoin, not one that I am a fan of at all. Galaxy Digital, man, just keeps going back. Oh, pulling back a little bit here. Could give me an opportunity, but up 2% today. Everybody knows I'm a fan of Galaxy Digital. I wanted to buy in there. I've missed that one. Waiting for a pullback maybe today. Gives me a little bit of one. We'll see what we get. UNH continuing to move. Oh, there you go. Nice little pop moving back to the upside. 368.19 here. So UNH just continues to move back to the upside, up about 21% over the last 3 months there. Bitcoin's still pulling back, looking weak. So again, similar to yesterday, most of the good news or the good trading done before Western markets opened, weak on the Western market open here. Anything else here? Not really seeing anything else too exciting there. Okay, everybody, we're going to end it a little bit early today when I am solo. Thought Steve was going to be able to make it. Unfortunately, his meeting has run late. So I am going to take off. For everybody here at Quasar Markets, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow with both BigBeat and I to break down the markets for you. Everybody have a fantastic trading day.